Welcome to this edition of Dufferin Life. I'm your host, Teena Avery. Thank you so much for joining us. So we have a special guest here today. She's here from the Pine River Institute. Her name is Ann Tong. She is the clinical director. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
It is truly my pleasure. And everybody who watches the show knows that I like to create awareness for things. And I came across your organization and I hadn't heard of it. So immediately I'm like, what do they do? So please tell me what the Pine River Institute is and what you do.
Yeah, so the Pine River Institute is a long-term live-in treatment for youth who struggle with addictive behaviors. And addictive behaviors really vary from substance use to screens to self-harm. So we're really looking at addictions as an overall behavior with the mental health component. And we work with youth and their families, and that's a really important part of our program.
Okay.
They start in the wilderness. And
wow.
Yes, and they do the wilderness, and when they're grounded, a little bit more grounded and away from the distractions of life before, they come to our main campus.
Okay.
And that's the live-in portion of the program. And then after that, they slowly reintegrate and work on transitioning back home, back into their community. Okay. And then we have an aftercare program that follows up with them when they're out of the live-in portion of the program. So that's the main treatment. And then we also have a wonderful branch called the Center for Family Initiatives, which works within the community, and we partner with many different people because we really do believe in what we do, and we want to spread that knowledge.
Absolutely. So tell me, I mean, when you're talking about youth, what ages are we looking at?
So youth, we serve anywhere from 13 to 19. I would say predominantly what we're seeing is 15-year-olds, but I would say as young as 15, but most of the youth that we serve right now are around 16, 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's heartbreaking to think that they're, it's not that I don't want you to have a job, but it's heartbreaking to think that there's such a need, like such a big need for addiction and mental health. And I mean, it's really important. And that's why we're talking about it. I mean, it's important to talk about. It's for years, we just kind of didn't, if there was a problem in the family with, it was like, oh, don't, that person's gone away, or that person is not feeling, or whatever it happens to be. And I mean, it's been the culture for the last quite a few years now, the importance of talking about it. Yeah,
and we definitely find that within Pine River. Many of the families, caregivers, and parents will say that they finally found a community where people understand, where they feel comfortable enough to share and to talk about what's going on. And I think that's one of our hopes too, is to bring that awareness and to bring a space where people can talk about what's difficult about life and what's hard, what's painful. And again, with our community outreach, that's another part of it too. It's that we want to actually prevent youth and families from needing to come to Pine River.
Right, and that brings me right into my next question of like, how does one notice when somebody needs help? Because oftentimes the people who themselves need help act like they're okay. So how does somebody look at their own child or their friends, children, or whoever, and think there's a problem, and how do they approach that?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right what you're saying, because oftentimes when youth are struggling, they're going to tell you that they're okay, or leave me alone, I'm fine. But I think when you start to see a bit of decline in their peer groups and their friends, maybe they're not going to school as often, maybe they seem a little bit more tucked away in their room than usual, I would say. These are all kind of signs that something might be going on, and they might benefit from a space to be able to talk about it without feeling criticized or judged. And even your relationship with your own child, does that feel a little bit different?
Because I mean, it is very normal in this day and age for kids to get on to social media or playing video games, and as a parent you're like, they come for dinner, like you know what I mean, they eat, they're going to school, they're doing these types of things. So it can be very difficult. I mean, if you already have a child that's kind of a little bit more into themselves, like a little bit more quiet. I'm definitely I'm an extrovert, not an introvert, or I wouldn't probably be doing what I do. But like when you've got an introverted child, and maybe it's hard to see when they pull back a little bit more. because you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah,
right?
it's hard to see, and I would say too, we're so busy, right? We're so busy these days with work, extracurriculars, all of that, and so parents and adults in children's lives are often really busy, and it's really easy to miss if they might be having a hard time.
It is, for sure. So I was doing some research and doing some reading, and I think that your program is very unique compared to other types of programs. And I'm going to let you tell us what makes Pine River Institute unique.
Yeah, we are very unique. So one of the things that makes us unique is our length of stay. So it is very much a variable length of stay, because our understanding is that each individual has their journey and has their process. There needs to be enough time to both heal and also to grow. And so our average length of stay is about 18 months.
Okay.
And youth are in that program for that long, and the family and parents and caregivers are engaged throughout that time as well.
Okay.
That's one of the things that makes us unique. Another thing, I was kind of describing the program at the beginning with the wilderness and the live-in treatment and then aftercare. All of that is under one roof.
Oh, okay.
And so that makes us quite unique, because there are programs that are in the States that kind of do treatment separately and are more siloed. So they might have a wilderness program separate, and then when you're done that, you might go to a live-in program, or you might have a separate aftercare, but we're all under one roof.
Okay.
And then we involved families right from the beginning. So right at assessment, they know that there is a commitment from the parents and the caregivers to be a part of the process.
Oh, good. Okay.
Because what we do know is that if youth come to the program and they shift and they change, but they go back to the same environment, it's really likely that they'll go back to what it was that they were doing before.
Right.
And another piece I always say to families is there are many pieces to the puzzle. And when the parents and caregivers can do their work and commit to doing their work, it also helps that youth recognize, wait a minute, I'm not alone, and there's nothing wrong with me. I'm not the problem, but actually this is a bigger system here that we're looking at, and everybody is doing their work to try to figure out how to do things differently.
Yeah, and I think, when I was reading about the families being involved and all that sort of thing, that's an integral part of everything, because as you said, you can't go back to the same situation because you're just going to drop into the same patterns, right? And, and it being such a bigger system, then parents and caregivers and family and that they need to make adjustments too, right?
Yes.
You have to understand what's going on with that person and then see what you can do to help them, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by the wilderness. So let's talk about the wilderness. What happens in the wilderness?
So the wilderness is very, down to the basics of survival. So really the purpose of going out to the wilderness, we run 365 days a year. They start at that portion. We call it the outdoor leadership experience. And it's a smaller group, so a cohort of probably about 6 youth and 3 staff that are out there with them. So the ratios are pretty good in terms of support. And really the whole point of the wilderness is to be able to get away from some of the distractions before, to let go of some of that, to just get some space and to ground and to take a breath and to go, okay, where am I right now and what's happening and what is it that I want for myself? And I'll often say, being out there, the trees don't judge. Right? We all know what it feels like for ourselves to be out in wilderness, to go for walks and hikes and all of that. And that's what we're hoping to bring back. The consequences out in the wilderness program are very natural as well, right? If you leave your boots out and it rains, your boots are going to be wet and your socks will be wet and you have to deal with that.
Right.
I had a group that I went out there at lunch and they all decided, we're too tired to cook lunch. None of us are hungry, right? No. And then next thing you know, dinner is happening at 3:30 because they're so hungry. So some very natural consequences that happen out there, and also with that, this ability to really feel like, wow, I've done something, right? I've started a fire. I've been able to put the tent up. I can actually chop firewood. I can do knots. I can do all of this, and I can actually survive. And they come out with this feeling of empowerment and excited to show other people that as well. And because we have rolling admissions, there are new students coming in. So the ones that have been out there a bit longer end up sort of being almost mentors to the ones that come in and, let me show you this or let me teach you how to do that. So that ends up being quite a lovely dynamic to have out there.
And I would assume that it allows you kind of to shut everything off and think about yourself while being surrounded by people that are going through the same thing, people who understand what they're going through, and kind of helping them through it. So that quiet that you get when you're on a walk and you're just like, wow. Like I go for walks and I don't bring music. I don't bring anything because it's just a walk. It's just the dog and I, we talk, we have our conversation and we go. And so it's obviously on a much larger scale, but I would think that quiet gives them that self-reflection time as well.
Yeah, it's just this ability to be and to be present. And don't get me wrong, all of these youth are struggling, right? They're having a hard time. So along with that quiet, you might be getting into some conflicts with some of your peers that are out there. And that's the other purpose of, having a smaller group and being out there, is that we're really working on how do we have ruptures and also how do we repair. And that ruptures are actually a very, real part of life. So how do we move through it? And I think much of what the youth struggle with before coming to Pine River is having these ruptures and not knowing how do we move forwards with that.
Right. So, we're talking about 19 months. What we've got a few minutes left, so let's talk about what about school? What happens with that?
Yeah, so we work with the Upper Grand District School Board, and so we have teachers, and every morning they wake up, they're doing gym. So it's an hour of outdoor physical activity, and really getting in their bodies. They earn a gym credit through that, a phys ed credit, and then they have teachers that work with them. So the whole morning is academics, and they do a pretty phenomenal job of being able to meet the youth where they're at, knowing that they're struggling. So being able to, see what is it that they need to be supported in the classroom. And then also, are there areas outside of the classroom that we can support them with in learning? We've got a great garden program, and so they're learning agriculture. They might be doing some mountain biking. They might be doing outdoor pursuits. When they complete that outdoor leadership experience in the wilderness, they earn a credit through that. So we're really trying to make that academic recovery possible for them.
Yeah, it makes sense, because their recovery in general as a human is very, very important. But you don't want to come out of that and then just be 4 steps behind when you're like, now I have to go to school for an extra couple of years or whatever it happens to be. So it sounds like a very well focused and very detailed program that benefits the youth for sure. So we've got about a minute or so left. What about funding? Is that something that you require? Do you get some funding from the government and you do fundraising as well?
Yeah, that's one of the things that makes us quite unique. So we're funded by the Ministry of Health. And we have 59 beds that are funded, and so great support from them, and can always benefit from more, right? We have families that might have more of a financial need. And so we've got a fantastic development team that is out there looking for folks who want to support the program, who believe in it. And we're able to use grants and all of that to help fund extra parts of the program, or to support some of the families, even with travel costs, to come and visit your child while they're in treatment. So we've got a little less than a minute. We've got just 30 seconds left. Where are you located? So our main campus is in the Shelburne area. And then our wilderness program is up towards Algonquin area. We have a transitional program as well in Orillia. And our main offices are in Toronto, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah. And I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this information. Yeah, thank you for having me. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. So we're still on screen.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Trust me, you are not going to want to miss this. Welcome to the little shop of spring magic, where anything is possible.
It's magical.
13 pastry prodigies will create stunning sweets. It's extreme. The baker who's got the magic touch.
This is taking me back to my childhood.
Will win it most magical title of all, Spring Baking Champion.
Now that's what I call spring magic.
never stop. Yeah, we gotta have it. We got the magic.
Public transit, garbage pickup, parks and recreation programs, snow removal on your street. How can you stay informed about these and other important local services? Tune to City Council coverage on Rogers TV. See your community leaders at work on Rogers TV City Council coverage.
Welcome back to Dufferin Life. Thank you so much for staying with us. And as always, if you're tuning in, you're just tuning in at a great time. So we have a familiar face, but she hasn't been here for a little while. So I'd like to welcome Nancy. Nancy is from the Big Brothers and Big Sisters Orangeville or Dufferin District.
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Thank you for having me.
It's truly my pleasure. You were saying, oh my goodness, we have a couch. And I'm like, oh, it's really been a while. For sure, for sure. But I mean, it's always important, I think, to have organizations come back on and kind of talk about what you're doing now, because it has been a while, as well as for those people who may not know a lot about the organization. I mean, we've all, I think so, we've all heard of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, but I mean, for some people, they don't really know the good work that you do and the mentorship that's involved. So let's just talk about who you are as an organization.
So we've been around for over 50 years here in Dufferin County. We're a small organization, but we've been going a long time and had a huge impact. So what we do is we take children and youth that are facing adversity and we match them with caring mentors. And they have one-on-one relationships that truly can truly change the life of the child and also the life of the volunteer. So it's a wonderful thing. We always have a call out for volunteers. So if anyone's ever thought about becoming a big brother or big sister, it's a great time to come. It helps the child, it helps the community, and it really helps us to be a volunteer. And
well, let's talk about that process. I mean, if somebody wanted to be a big brother or big sister, what is the process to become that volunteer?
So they would go to our website, and we have an online application now, so they could fill that out. And once that's done, then we do an interview and some child safety training with them and orientation and just learning about what it is to be a big. And then after that, then we look for a match for them, and we try to find a child that would really benefit the most, and that they would have the most in common with, and could have a really a long-lasting and good relationship. So then, once we find that child, we give the profile to the volunteer, and we say, "Do you also think that this is a good match?" And if they agree, then we set up a meeting, and we have our staff there, and we have a meeting between the volunteer, the child, and the parent and guardian.
Okay. So let's talk about the time commitment and what's involved about when someone wants to be a big.
So we asked for just 1 year, and we asked for them to spend 2 to 4 hours a week or once every 2 weeks with the child. And they can be doing anything that they also like to do. We encourage low cost or no cost activities to try to make it more manageable that way. Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, when we're talking about, I mean, there's so many dynamics involved in mentor-mentee type of relationship, because especially if there is a child that's struggling or going through something difficult, is it challenging to work through these dynamics with the groups?
Sometimes a child already has people in their lives that care about them, but having that one additional person can really make a big difference and really help them go through some very challenging things. So, and the children that we serve, there's a variety of reasons why they might come to our agency, and we do our best to try to match them with somebody that can really help them.
So let's talk about funding and fundraising. I know you just had your Bowl for Kids. Right?
Bowl for Kids' Sake, yeah.
I knew there was another word. I was like, Bowl for Kids' Sake, yeah. So let's talk about the importance of fundraising, and because often people will look at organizations and just assume that you've got government funding.
Well, we do get a bit of government funding, but the bulk of our funding, it's not a huge amount of money. We have to fundraise a lot for our programs. And so Bowl for Kids' Sake is has been our biggest fundraiser, and we actually had to stop running it when COVID hit in 2020. And so just this past March, we revived it, and it went really well. We were really happy with the response from the community, so that's really, really helping us keep going.
So let's talk about, I mean, you've got a fundraiser coming up as well.
And we do. We have our Golf for Kids' Sake coming up, golf tournament coming up on June the 26th.
Okay.
So we're looking for people that might like to come out and play, and also sponsors or donate prizes and all those things that make it a success.
Well, absolutely. So there's the call out to community and businesses and all the surrounding in Dufferin County and surrounding areas that may tune in. There's that opportunity to come out and golf and enjoy and support that way. There's sponsorships. But I think, and I've always mentioned this, and I try to mention this with anybody who's fundraising, some people, and times are being a little bit more difficult right now, sometimes people aren't able to donate or to do that sort of thing. But I've always preached and said, share the information with people. Go on social media, share it. Even if you're not able to go, you're not able to support, share it with people that you know. Pick 5 people and say, hey, did you know, oh, you're a golfer, you like to do these types of things.
For sure.
Because that creates even more awareness, right, by spreading the word.
Very true.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for more than 20 years.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it's a wonderful job. It's been really good.
Yeah, and how did you get involved? Like, how did it all begin?
They were, the executive director at the time was leaving, and they needed somebody to just do it for a short time until they found somebody else. And so I did it for a short time, and then I kept on doing it. And so here I am all these years later. Yeah.
So, I mean, the relationships between the bigs and the littles, like it's just, I'm assuming that some of these relationships continue longer than a year. Like, I think
for sure. Yeah. I mean, anybody that would do it for 1 year, we're very happy for that, because sometimes their life changes and they can't quite do it for forever. But we do have a few. We have a certain percentage that do become like family, and it lasts their whole lives together. Yeah.
Why is this program important?
This program is important because for some children, it just increases the projection of their life. They can have a better life as a result of our program. Kids that may have, might be losing their way a little bit can be guided by an older person, a mentor, that can help them see a more positive path.
And I think that's so important, because if you've never considered doing it, or if you have the time and now you're listening to Nancy speak and you're thinking, maybe this is a good thing for me, I mean, please do reach out. But I think that taking someone, I mean, and it doesn't mean that they're troubled or they're having issues or anything. It could just mean that they just need somebody to hang out with and have support. Yeah. So, and I think that's a good opportunity for people to reach out and volunteer.
So we do have another program called the In-School Mentoring Program, and that's a program that can be good for seniors or people that don't want to, maybe they don't have quite as much time to volunteer, and that's where a volunteer goes for 1 hour once a week right to a child's school.
Okay.
And they meet one-on-one, and we supply like a bin with crafts and games and things like that, and then they only meet when the school's on.
Okay.
And we've had some really wonderful relationships that way too.
Oh, you know what? I never even thought about seniors participating and being a mentor. But I mean, my goodness, I'm sure they have so much to share and so much fun and love to give. A lot of them, right? Well, we all do, I think. And it's just, how do you kind of put it all together, and where do you go to just hang out and have some fun and be a mentor? So if someone were thinking about it, about becoming a volunteer, but was kind of on the fence, what would you say to them? What would you say to them to give them that little push to say, don't be afraid to do it?
Well, they can always call our office. We're there, and we're glad to answer any questions or help guide them to see which program might be good for them. And then on our website, we do have more information too.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So when were you like a big before you joined? Like before you started working as
No, I
ED?
wasn't a big,
No?
but I've been a volunteer in many capacities.
Yeah. I have no doubt. I'm like, you're probably such a busy lady to begin with, but you still find time. Do you ever, is there ever a situation where you're not able to match?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
Sometimes there are, yeah.
Because I can just see that could be difficult depending on the dynamics and.
Yeah, like one issue we have is sometimes it's hard to find volunteers geographically because we serve the whole county. Sometimes we have trouble finding volunteers in Shelburne or Grand Valley. So for anyone who's thinking from those areas, particularly, we would love to hear from you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm more curious about some of the things that the mentors, and I know you said that could be anything.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of these. I'm going to call them dates, but they're not dates. They're like just. I'm losing my.
So
Yeah.
of the meetings that they
Thank
have,
you,
yeah,
meetings. That's a better word.
So they would do, they can do simple things like they could attend the child's soccer game. They could go for a hike at Island Lake. They could ride bikes if the volunteer liked riding bikes. They could go to Tim Hortons for hot chocolate. They can go to any of the community events we have in town. All those things. It's really just about spending time together and creating a bond and letting the child know that the volunteer cares about them, supports them, and wants what's best for them. And that's it's really a subtle thing. It's a profound thing, but it doesn't take a lot of money or just regular contact really can create that.
Sitting and playing board games and just going out for a movie or something like that.
Yeah.
So what are the ages normally of the littles? Like, is there a range? Is there too young or?
So we wait till the child is 6 before we would match them.
Okay.
And usually we could match them as teenagers as well, though we do find that when they're younger, they're more open to the program. Sometimes as they get older, they're a little bit more, they're not as open to being matched. So
Absolutely. So how does somebody, caregiver, parent, how do they get their little involved?
So they would go to our website. I mean, once again, they can also call us. We're glad to speak to them, but they can go to the website and they can sign up online as well with an application form, and then we'll reach out to them and start the next steps.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So what are the steps involved if you, like, I mean, obviously reaching out and applying first, but what are the steps to put your child in the program?
So they would fill out the application form, and then we would also meet with them in the office and get to know them and their child and find out what the child's interests are and what sort of mentor might be good for them. We do a child safety training and an orientation to the program, and then once that's done, then we start looking for the best volunteer that we can match with the child. And once we have that, we also share a profile of the volunteer with the parent or guardian and see if they think that it's good as well. And if it's a good match, then we set up a match meeting, and we have this match meeting in our office. And then after that, the visits would start.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's one. So length of time, how long does this process normally take? I mean, I'm assuming it differs depending on.
It does differ. It depends on. It also can take a while for us to find volunteers in the right area. So for some children, they don't wait very long, but some of them do wait. So
and this is covering all of Dufferin County.
that's right.
So no matter where you are in Dufferin County, if you're looking to volunteer or maybe find out some information, the website has appeared. It will appear again at the end of the segment. But please do reach out and just get the information, because sometimes you're thinking, well, that's not for me, but a little spark goes off and you're thinking, well, maybe it could be, right? Like, unless you ask the questions and find out the information, you'll never know if it's meant for you or not. So we've got about, we don't have long left. We've got about 30 seconds left. So we want to make sure that you're coming out to the golf tournament. Please sign up. That's happening in June
26th at Shelburne Golf Club.
Perfect. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It was truly a pleasure to have you back. Thank you for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye for now.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com. With Canada's sovereignty and economy under threat, this election is a defining moment for the country.
There's so much on the line.
Get to know the candidates running to be your MP and represent your interests in Ottawa. Hear from your local candidates during Rogers TV's coverage of the local campaign.